everyone, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity of being part of this experience. And thank you too for being here to listen my presentation about the freedwomen and the research and promotion in the cities of the Roman Baetica through the epigraphic documentation. Here we can see the different points that I'm going to explain in this presentation. Firstly, we must talk about the Roman woman. Greco-Roman women lived in a world dominated by the clear image men had of them and their place. An image formulated by and for the elite, but well shared by ordinary. The woman was a means to an end, and she probably saw herself in that way. The end was a family unit that thrived hers on that transmission of profits. Although there was the possibility that they would work in some secondary activities, any woman who could choose one of them as her main purpose was undoubtedly a rare act. If we introduce to the world of women, we should remember that the attitude expressed by their own words is practically absent from all the literary and historical sources available to us. That's why we think that the documentation can be the best to know about the ideal woman. We expect modesty, voice, moral attitude, and loyalty. Here we have an example from Rome of Aurelia Firman. She exemplifies the ideal woman when she is praised for her modesty and voice and moral. She expressed those ideals herself, but since her husband survived and commissioned her tombstone, we can assume that the feelings are from him, although she would probably share them. The second point is about the freedmen in Roman society. When we speak about freedmen, we refer to the group formed by slaves who have been freed by their masters, who were Roman citizens. The masters needed reliable people to interview on their behalf. By using freedmen who had obligations and ties to them, the master could be sure that the management would be good. After the manumission, the former slave became the slave's master. In legal texts, a freedman is compared to a son. The limitations, obligations, and responsibilities of a son were very similar to those of a freedman, although in some respects he enjoyed more freedom than a son under his father's authority. We know that a person is a freedman because of they show it in the legislation with that form. Probably one of the first actions that a newly freed slave had to take was to seek the manumission of the woman he had lived with, as well as of his children if he had any. If there was no previous relationship, freedmen could marry any woman unless she was of senatorial rank. It's true that freedmen could not hold public office in Rome or in the municipality, that they were prevented from joining certain priesthood. They only could be in the Augustalidad one, and they could not form part of the legions. Now we must talk about the different types of freed slave that we can find. The first position could be the imperial freedwomen. They were part of the Familia Caesaris members, and we can see that the privileged group of Augustalidad. The imperial freedmen would work in administrative and fiscal services, and in the social aspect, we find a lot of inscriptions about the family and relationships that they have. Related with women, we find inscriptions and symbols of affection, like the husband saying about them that they were Dulcissima, Conus Carissima, Rarissima, Santissima, or in the case of women, to their husband, Marito Pissimo or Marito. the social promotion in Baetica, we have a famous case about Titus Flavius Antoninus. Well, Titus Flavius Antoninus appears receiving a series of funeral honors granted by the Order Decurionalia of Córdoba. Parents grateful for the deference paid for the construction of the cemetery. His father, Titus Flavius Steudo, held the position of Tabularius Provinciae Baetica. He was therefore a high-ranking official. It could be added that the son of the pre-imperial was engaged, so he could have participated fully in the institution and public life of the municipality. And his servile stigma would have been less important because of the position held by his father. So we can see here social promotion by a son. Well, about public freed women, firstly we must say that we don't really have any social promotion about them in Baetica. Okay, we know that the public the slaves were managed by a community, and that community became the master. Normally it was a city, collegia, province, or religious centers. They had a privileged position because they were integrated in the municipal scene, and we know about them in inscription because of her nomen, or his nomen was Publicius or Publicia. We know that the freedmen could be in the bureaucratic or administrative terms. Also, they could obtain the Augustalidad. We know that marital ties, normally, like in the case of imperial freedmen and freedwomen, were in the public family too. And here I show two examples from Hispania, one from Hispania Interior and one from Baetica. Here I show you an example of Sabina Valeri, who was the wife of Valerius Herodes, who was a medicus, public freedman in Roman Baetica. Now the private women, we know that professions, they could have professions in the rural and urban world. Normally they stay in the same job, mostly freedmen. And we know that they are freed slaves because of the manumission gave them the freedman nomen. In this case, we see a lot, can highlight the close freedman-master relationship. And we find a lot of marriage between freed women and masters. Also, here we find the majority of the energetic activities for the social promotion of women. We can see the case of María, a freed woman married to a person of high position, Caius Valerius Valerianus, Dumbir, and perpetual pontiff who has been put in contact with the navicularii of the Baetica. Valerianus financed the construction of the Forum Intisimbrium of 5 chapels with statues of gods and various statues of himself, as is shown by an epitaph that shows his granddaughter Flavia Valeriana. Another case could be Sergia Salvia of Barba, who expelled Saturnini Fili upon his Liberta et with Alacus et Aeramenta. In relation with social promotion, in Baetica we find some laws that talk to us about the access of the decurionalia for the freedmen. As we can see, in a moment it was possible, but later it was completely prohibited. So they have to search for increases status by the purchase of land or civic munificence. Through this civic munificence, they could achieve some types of honors, normally the ornamenta, decurionalia, status, or public funeral. We must remember that children of the freedmen and freedwomen could have access to order. That's why they tried to promote their families. Some freedwomen would only seek to be remembered as Municipal Citizens after her death, as it could be the case of Achilles that I showed here, who ordered to dedicate ex-testament in her name and that of her husband Achilles a statue of 2 pietas of 100 pounds of silver. This donation makes us think that Freedwoman must have belonged to a very rich freedman family. The last example I'm going to show about social promotion of freedwomen is, for me, the most highlighted one. It's about Achilles. According to the documentation that is now, her family came to prominence in her town, Singiria Barba, as even this former slave made a dedication to a member of the Christian order and his wife, that is shown here. She also dedicated a status to the two children she had with Manumission and Fronto, who were already in gaming and could be integrated into the local aristocracy without any problem. The importance of Achilles was possibly to highlight the social status that Achilles gets retained after the death of her patron families, as friends of other relevant members of the Equestrian order who worked for the imperial administration in the Vatican. Lecusa, despite being free after becoming a widow, was forced to participate more actively in the public life of her city in order to preserve the projection of her against in the municipality, which led her to get involved in making donations to the population or in the family's honorary commemoration. In this way, she would try to maintain her family's prestige and would be favoring the entry of her descendants into the local senate, as well as the performance of magistrates and priests. And here we have the image of the tombstone of Achilles that we can visit in the Tesera Museum. The conclusions that we can draw first that the imperial freedwomen could be part of the elite, and they had special conditions from being related with the familia Kaiser. We don't really have many information, but we know that they must be in a privileged position. Of the public freedwomen, they should have our integration, the municipal, and we have fewer documentation about them into Baetica. The private freedwomen are those that we have part of the documentation, and we can see the important relationship with the master that normally can be the husband, and for the social promotion it was really important. About the search for promotion and social advancement, we have seen the difficulty in reaching the decurion rate, and directly impossible for freedwomen or women in general, but it was possible for the Indian descendants. That's why we have seen they tried the honorary integration and the importance of amicitia with masters and with members of the aristocracy, like in the case of Achilles. With respect to the epigraphic source, we consider them to be of vital importance for the knowledge of the subject, and in Roman Baetica we find a large number of epitaphs regarding freedmen. However, We can clearly see how the number increased when we focus on women. Even so, we have been able to bring some examples that show us how they were into the society. In summary, some of the most outstanding features of the freed slave with regard to social life may be the natural assimilation into the municipal schemes, the desire for promotion and participation in civil life, and a broad social horizon after the manumission, which will be easier in small municipalities, where population could be more easily overcome. In this way, we have been able to verify the active presence and interest of the freed women, mainly wealthy people, in the way that they could in the socio-political dynamics of the city, manifesting a municipal patriotism and the evident desire to rise in the citizen hierarchy. So thank you so much, and I hope you have enjoyed my presentation.